Hey everybody, this is D Hunter, bringing another action figure review. Today, we're going to look at the McFarlane DC Multiverse, Justice Society of America, Wildcat. I've always been a fan of the Wildcat character. He's a cool sort of bruiser or brawler. Sometimes there's an older grumpy version, sometimes a younger version of the JSA. Always thought he'd be a cool person to go against Catwoman. This is part of the newest wave of Target exclusive figures. Found mine at Target today, so let's take a look at the packaging. As you can see at the top, 22 moving parts, McFarlane Toys, ages 12 plus. This is part of the Gold Label collection. A Gold Label figure is simply a retailer exclusive. Whether it be GameStop or Walmart, this Gold Label is a Target exclusive. DC Multiverse Wildcat. Here he is in the front. Looks like no traditional accessories, just display stand and collector's card. One side of the package, Wildcat from JSA. Other side, Wildcat. At the bottom, there's his barcode, if it helps anybody. And in the back, here he is, posed up from the comics. So with no further ado, let's open him up. And I did end up getting both figures from the wave. They were kind enough to pull one out of the back for me, Wildcat and Orion. Alright, now that we have this figure out of the package, here he is with all the accessories laid out. He doesn't come with any traditional accessories, simply a display stand and a collector's card. But I guess all he needs is his fists. Before I take a look at those, let's talk about and check out the figure. So this is Wildcat. His real name is Ted Grant. Originally, he was a boxer, and then he was framed for murder, and he was on the run when a comic book inspired him to don a costume and track down the real killer, clearing his name. Since then, he's been a member of the Justice Society of America for quite a long time. Wildcat doesn't really have any powers. He's a world champion boxer, and he's just a bruiser, brawler, fighter. In some continuities, he trained Batman. I know the Brave and Bold cartoon, he was an old grumpy guy that trained him how to fight. So let's take a closer look. This donned on what was originally the Page Puncher Superman body, and we'll check that out in depth shortly. Now his face here, it looks good, but not great. I think the whisker area could be done a little better. I don't know. I feel like at one point they showed a photo of him a little bit different than this. And then I saw the picture online, I was like, that doesn't look so good. But in hand, he looks much better than I anticipated. You can see the sort of lighter blue around his whiskers. A little bit of dots in there. He's got the weird sort of thing for his mask that hangs down. That's signature to Wildcat. He's got the ears hanging down as well. Looks like his eyes are totally white. It wouldn't be a bad idea if this guy had a Platinum Chaser with maybe a black costume. I think Mattel did something like that, where they had one in like a black costume, one like a purple costume. This looks good, but I kind of see him in a black costume a lot of the time. This is done in a sort of darker blue with a bunch of lighter highlights all over him. Double jointed elbows, double jointed knees. I really like the wrap around his fists. I think it actually looks really good. Very nice touch. As a whole, it's a very bland and basic type body, but it works for a superhero that's simply wearing a plain blank spandex costume. And a closer look at his face and head sculpt. And when I saw the picture online, I was like, ugh, that doesn't look good. And in hand, I think it does look good. Maybe they could have done something a little bit better with the whisker area, but I like his mouth. I like the little fangs coming off the top of his mouth. I like the little stuff dangling down. It all screams signature Wildcat. I think it came out pretty nicely. Appears to be a younger version. Allegedly, he was a boxer back in the early 40s, but that was when JSA was, in the 40s. I would imagine that has been changed and pushed back, because there's no way this guy's 80 years old or actually rather 100 years old and still a member of the Justice Society. He has a daughter that was temporarily Wildcat, and he's a son, which is some sort of metahuman werecat. I guess it runs in the family. Now let's check out his accessories. He doesn't come with any traditional accessories, and the only thing I think he maybe should have come with is a pair of gripping hands to swap out. But if there's ever a figure that would be okay with just fists, Wildcat is the one. So we have the typical McFarlane display stand we've seen countless times before. And then we have his collector's card. And the image on there, it just looks weird. It looks pretty bad. It's like someone made a really crappy AI version of this action figure. It's got the same kind of gloves. I mean, it does look very similar to the figure. He has quite a bit of scruff, which the figure doesn't have, but everything else is pretty similar. Wildcat from JSA. On the back, there is a description. If you want to read that, pause now. Wildcat here was done on the body that debuted with the Page Puncher Superman, but he shares more parts with the Electric Superman. So let's take a look. Start with their heads, obviously totally different. As we go further down, it looks like the torso area and the stomach are the same. You can see that weird sort of, I don't know, sculpted little shirt cup thing up there. Wildcat has it too. Looks like the arms are the same, but obviously the forearm is totally different. We have the wrap around his hands, and this guy has a weird sleeve sculpted thing. The diaper is the same, and the legs appear to also be the same. So these are 100% the same figure, except the heads and the forearms, and of course the paint job. And you know what? I think it works. Wildcat has a pretty basic costume. It's literally just a spandex outfit. There are now 11 different figures utilizing this Page Puncher Superman body. 6 of which are Superman. Then we have Orion, Wildcat, and 2 Firestorms. It's a decent body for a basic sort of blank figure, and I imagine they'll get a lot of use out of him in the future. Now that we've taken a pretty good look at both the figure and his accessories, let's check out his height. From bottom to the top of his head, standing about 7.1, maybe 7.2 inches tall, which can translate to just over 18 centimeters. And for his articulation, starting with his head, of course, he can rotate side to side. He can look up quite a bit, down quite a bit as well. Very nice. Can tilt his head from one side to the other. Shoulders, a ball joint goes about 90 degrees. Up, down, around, all that good stuff. He's got this butterfly ring between his shoulder and chest, increasing the range of motion, but more importantly, covering the giant gap that would be there. Bicep cut below that. Double jointed elbows. His wrist can rotate, and it's hinged as well. In his torso, he has a ball joint. Rotate around, although very tight up top. It can only go around about that far, forward and back. Another one is waist. Rotate around, forward and back. Between the two, good range of motion. You get more out of the waist and the torso on this guy. Legs complete as the splits, McFarlane style hip joints. Rotation is minimal at best, almost non-existent. Legs go forward about that far. Back not much. Double jointed knees. And his ankle. Forward and back. Rotate. Tilt. Rock. And of course, torticulation. Here's a look at Wildcat in the city streets. Fists up. Ready to brawl. Now let's check them out. Next is some of their action figures. Starting off with some of their Wildcat figures. Here's McFarlane's Wildcat. Next to the Mattel DC Universe Classics version. This is a version with the black suit. And I think there was a chase version in like a purple suit. Now one cool thing about this Mattel figure is I really like what they did with his feet. He's got, I don't know, sort of like little claws on there. And here's the comic version of Wildcat, next to a comic version of Catwoman. I always thought these two would make good partners, or possibly good opponents. Pretty sure I have a 4-issue miniseries with the two of them together. And I want to check out Wildcat with some other JSA members. Here's some of the old school JSA roster: Jay Garrick Flash, Wildcat, Alan Scott Green Lantern, and Hawkman. And here are some more modern members of the JSA: Spectre, Mr. Terrific, and Huntress. And then some movie versions of the JSA: Atom Smasher, Cyclone, and Dr. Fate. Atom Smasher is screaming for a comic release, and so is Dr. Fate for that matter. And rumor has it, there is an upcoming Silver Age Dr. Fate, and an upcoming Hourman, so additional members of the JSA on the way. Now let's check him out, next to some other recently released McFarlane DC Multiverse figures. Here he is, next to the rest of his wave. This is the newest gold labeled Target exclusive wave, Wildcat and Orion. Here's Wildcat, next to the previous Target exclusive wave, which are still sitting around shelves here. Commander Steel and Sinestro in Parallax armor. And here he is, next to the recent wave of Page Punchers, the comic version of the Christopher Reeve Superman, comic Shazam, and the animated Red Hood. I'm looking for a platinum version of the animated Red Hood. If anyone out there can possibly help me out, drop me a line in the comments below. It is much appreciated. Then, next to the King Kong vs. Batman 3-pack. And now, with the most recent Batman wave, both the regular and platinum chase variants of the Noel Batman and the Silver Age Batman, the platinum Batman vs. Spawn Batman, and all 3 versions of the Batman Beyond Neo-Gothic Batman. Here's Wildcat, next to the Justice League Task Force wave. Both the regular and platinum chase variants of Aquaman, Flash, Batman, and Superman collect to build Darkseid. This is the first time they ever did a platinum Build-A-Figure. And here he is with the Amazon exclusive Batman that came with the Batglider and the GameStop exclusive Frostbite Nightwing. Then with the Amazon exclusive Court of Owls 3-pack. And with the 8th wave of McFarlane Collector's Edition figures, both the regular and platinum chase variants of Lightning Lad, Mr. Terrific, Simon Baz Green Lantern, Geoforce, Christopher Reeve Superman, and Grid. And finally, next to a couple of recent Mega figures, Planet Ron Red Swamp Thing, and the Zack Snyder's Justice League Armored Darkseid. This is the one that came with a throne. Now let's check him out. Next to some action figures from different various companies, so we can see how he fits in both scale and style-wise, in case you want to know which lines you can mix him with. Since he's a McFarlane toy, they're typically the 7-inch scale. I'm going to start off my comparisons with some of the larger action figure lines I collect, and work my smaller. But first, let's check him out with some of his McFarlane Toys brothers. In front of you are 5 different action figure lines, all from McFarlane Toys, all 7-inch scale, and now with some Jack-specific wrestling figures and some Diamond Select toys. Here's Wildcat, next to a set of drill or screwdriver attachments. And here he is with some DC Direct and NECA figures. Then with both some Mattel and Jazzwares wrestling figures. And now with some Mezco and Mattel DC figures. Next with some Mafex and Hasbro Marvel Legends. And finally with some SH Figure Arts and Jazzwares Fortnite figures. So overall, this is a pretty cool Wildcat figure. Initially, I didn't think he looked that good from the pictures I saw, but in hand, I think he's great. Yeah, some minor things I would have done differently. I just feel like his whiskers could have been a little more prominent, a little bit better done. I love the little fang coming out of the mask. His color scheme, the blue with the sort of lighter blue shading, could have done without, at least without the shading. But then again, the figure would look very boring that way. I do wish this guy had a platinum chase variant of a black suited Wildcat. I think that would be really cool. I know, look at me actually asking for another platinum chase variant, like we don't have enough already. His accessories are absolutely non-existent. His articulation is everything you expect from a modern McFarlane figure. Sculpt and paint job are excellent. If I were to rate this guy, first thought, I want to give him a 7 out of 10. I think I'll stick with that. Kind of lean towards 7.5 because I think the figure's pretty nice and I like him a lot. But going to land at a 7. So this is D Hunter. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked the video, press like below. If you have anything you want to save the video, add to the comment section. If you want to see additional action figure reviews from me, press subscribe. I do appreciate when you do that. Once again, this is D Hunter. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll talk to you guys real soon.